if you stay here and listen, your life will never be the same. 'Cause we're talking with TBird now. And this TBird you cannot change. Oh, this TBird you cannot change. And things might get pretty strange.
Yeah, that's right. Talking with TBird is back, and we have another great guest for you. We'll be catching up with Kelly Wiglesworth, two-time survivor, of course, a legend from Survivor Borneo, will be here today. And the woman that tracked her down, here she is, the great Teresa TBird Cooper.
Happy New Year. Can I still say that? We're still into January.
No, you cannot.
Hey,
You cannot say Happy New Year anymore. Stop it.
What is,
Somebody
last
last Friday sent me, hey, Happy New Year. No, stop it. No, we're done.
All right, we're done? All right,
We're
what's
done.
the cutoff so I'll know for future? The 7th?
I don't
The
know.
10th?
You know what? I'll give you
The
till
15th?
January 10th. That's it. Once we hit double digits in January, that's it.
All right, that's it. All right, that's it.
It's no longer happy or new. That this year, this was a Happy New Year for 5 days. That's it. Then it's another same stupid year.
All right, it's January. We're into January, but we've got another great podcast coming out today. Oh my gosh,
Not for
I'm
anything.
so
This
excited.
is the second podcast we've done this year. I've
I know,
already
and
talked
it's
to
a
you this
great one.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but this is another great one. This is a
Yeah.
trailblazer.
But we've already talked. This isn't our first time talking in 2021.
No, I know, but it's the first time we've talked with another great person together.
What was Julie Berry?
She was great. She was number one, and she was wonderful. But yes, I mean, you and I talk, and I text you often, and I know you get tired of that. So, but you can only imagine how I'm reaching out to our guests, because I know by the time we get started, they've had enough of me. You can only imagine. I know you know the feeling already, right?
Yes.
You know the feeling.
No, I don't know the feeling. But do you open with Happy New Year when you try to reach out to the guests?
I have been still doing that past the 10th. I will stop. That might be why I'm not getting a lot of hits on our guests, because I'm still saying Happy New Year. I'm thinking that could be it. So Kelly, I've not met Kelly before. Unfortunately, I did not get to play second chances with her. I would have loved to, but she seems to be very calm. She's very reserved, and I'm a little bit, maybe not quite so reserved. So when she said that she would agree to do it, I've got to tell you what she said.
Yeah.
I sent her a message and asked her about doing a chat. And I've got to reference Rob, Cesternino, and RHAP, even though Julie Berry wasn't sure that you were still out here. She thought you had retired.
Yeah.
She thought you were retired. So I have to read exactly what Kelly said back, because she said, very polite. She's always so polite. She said, "Thank you for the invitation. I don't know anything about Survivor, seasons, players, etc. I don't know anything about other reality shows either. I don't have a TV. So if this is something that has anything to do with TV, I'm out." Well, as soon, Rob, and again, she said it. This is exactly what she said, but she's been so polite, and she's very direct, but in a great, sweet way. As soon as I got this message, I'm like, I want her. She's going to be fantastic. Mm-hmm. So, and actually, she agreed to do it. And I just said, basically, I just sent her a message back saying, "Kelly, no, all we want to talk about is you. That's all we want to do." And she is amazing. So I'm so glad we got her today. It's going to be super fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Rob,
yes, what?
So I want to ask you, what do you think, and this is kind of such as a broad question, and maybe some of the listeners can chime in on this. What do you think the future of Survivor would have been like if Kelly had have won instead of Rich? How would that have shaped the Survivor community?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I do feel like that it would have affected different games. I think a lot of people have thought about this, and that, it really, with Richard's win in the first season, sort of like, oh, okay, this is how you win. I do think that Survivor gameplay would have gotten there, but I feel like initially it wouldn't have been as cutthroat in the early seasons.
You don't think, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been like, oh, Kelly is the person setting the way forward on how to win, even if Richard has got more credit for the alliance.
Right.
What do you think, TBird?
Well, that's a good question. What I really love about Kelly is she's, again, played at 22 years old, very outdoorsy. You read about her and you think she's going to go far into the game just because of her experience and her age. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Maybe we would see more, it would be more surviving than it has, kind of gravitated more to, a lot of the idols and everything we're seeing now. Maybe, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe, I hope it'll go back to being more about survival. Because I know a lot of the fans want to see that. So maybe Kelly would have
I don't know. I don't know about
that.
that. I think people want to see less twists, but I don't know if necessarily like, more about like just roughing it.
Well, I guess I don't mean rushing. I don't mean roughing it so much. I just mean where the players are actually playing together. And the game, their social game is what we're seeing more than them, running off looking for idols and doing all that. So maybe the social game I'm hoping to see more of.
Okay.
Like we saw in Borneo. So.
All right.
We'll see what she has to say about it.
All right, TBird, we are going to get to Kelly Wiglesworth in just one moment. But first, let me take a moment and thank our sponsors of this podcast, our friends over at the Theragun, the handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension using a scientifically calibrated combo of depth, speed, and power, and it's as quiet as an electric toothbrush. And to show you just how quiet it is, I'm going to use the Theragun while I talk about it. Here we go. All right, it's good Theragun time. Gonna work on some of my tech neck that I get from looking at computers all day long. Oh, relieving all the stress that in my daily life, whether you're an elite athlete or somebody like me, just trying to make it through the day tension-free, Theragun can help. The Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good, it gets to the source of the pain by releasing tension using Theragun's signature percussive therapy, which goes 60% deeper than vibration alone. Whether you want to treat your muscle tension from working out or injury or just the stresses of everyday life like I have, there's no substitute for the Theragun Gen 4. The OLED screen and design makes you feel like you're holding something from the future. Just go to their site and check it out. And the Theragun app learns your behaviors and suggests guided routines. The Theragun is great. The First Lady of Podcasting is a fan as well, especially that when I work out, I get really tight hamstrings. Theragun is great for that, in addition to feeling great on your neck and shoulders. Theragun is trusted by 250 professional sports teams like Real Madrid and elite athletes like Paul George, DeAndre Hopkins, Maria Sharapova, hundreds of thousands of customers, and me. Try Theragun for 30 days starting at only $199. Go to Theragun.com/RHAP right now and get your Gen 4 Theragun today. That's Theragun.com/RHAP. Theragun.com/RHAP. All right, I'm going to turn this thing off. And TBird, why don't you take it away?
Okay. Once upon a time in a faraway land, we heard these words from the guy we all now know as Jeff Probst. Quote, from this tiny Malaysian fishing village, these 16 Americans are beginning the adventure of a lifetime. They have volunteered to be marooned for 39 days on mysterious Borneo. This is their story. In the end, only one will remain and will leave the island with $1 million in cash as their reward. 39 days, 16 people, one survivor. Oh, yes, we remember it well. It was a simpler time, a time where once a week, Wednesday nights, we would gather our family and friends around the TV for the new cult show that drew 28 million viewers a week. You know the one, the show we talked about all week around the office water cooler, the show where we threatened anyone who would even dare call during this sacred hour, the one where the boot order was still yet to make it on the internet before the season even started. It was a CBS summer filler simply titled Survivor, and it had us hooked from survivors ready. Those were the days. Today's guest, one of the pioneers, trailblazers, was born in Greensboro, North Carolina, and only 22 when she experienced this life-changing game. She couldn't have known that she would be part of history, survivor history, and that it would shape the future of reality TV. Describing herself as creative, confident, and outgoing, this river rafting guide spent 21 days rowing her own boat through the Grand Canyon. So it surprised no one when she won the last 4 immunity challenges to make it to the final 3. And then on day 38, after 4 hours and 11 minutes holding on to the immunity idol while standing on a small log, she would seal the deal when Rudy removed his hand, sending our guest to the final tribal council. With 51.7 million viewers watching, ratings that have yet to be beat, lost to Richard Hatch in a 4-3 vote. With the question still looming, was Greg's vote the deciding vote? His pick a number between 1 and 10 actually random. We would see here again some 15 years later at the age of 38, her physical and social game, such a threat to the others, she would be voted out on day 24. When asked if second chances was what she had hoped for, she replied, quote, "Well, no, because I didn't win, and that was ultimately what I was hoping for," end quote. The attitude of a true competitor. The love of her life, her son Rio, is her complete focus these days, teaching and instilling in him the love of nature and travel, and that getting out of your comfort zone is the only way to truly live. I introduce to you the girl who coined the catchphrase, "I'm not here to make friends," one of the original OGs, Kelly Wiglesworth.
Yes. Kelly, how about that?
Hey, Kelly!
Oh, that was great, TBird. Thank you. I was wondering if you were going to get the friend thing in there.
Yes. What an introduction.
Yeah.
I know. That was great. Thank you so much. Wow.
Yes. Kelly, how
Kelly.
are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing okay. It's been we're all I get hanging in there. It's been a minute since we've heard from you. I know this past May was the 20-year anniversary of Survivor Borneo airing. So congratulations on that milestone.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
It's weird to think like anything happened 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Except that
I've lived that long.
every day feels like 20 years also at the same time.
All right.
Kelly, so what part of the world are you living at these days?
Well, I'm in Northern California area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the high Sierras.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm looking at about 6,000 feet elevation, living in the mountains, close to rivers, close to lakes and beautiful things. And so, yeah, it's been good. You know, my family jokes that, they say, well, you never, really left the island because I always have to, I get like weirded out in cities and lots of civilization. So I try to be in nature as much as I can.
Yeah.
Kelly, take me through a day. I think you were telling me that you homeschool Rio. Take me through you and Rio's typical day.
Well, typical is not really a thing. Well, I did homeschool him up until he was about 5. He was born in Mexico, where we lived for about 10 years. So I was, homeschooling him there. And when we moved to the mountains, there's really awesome schools where we are. They have several different expedition schools where normally they do like 80% of their learning outside the classroom. They do, they go on hikes and backpacking trips, and they teach the kids, avalanche safety and how to build igloos and all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, that is the school for my kids. So got on a long waiting list to, get him in there, and he got accepted right at the shutdown. So he technically does go to this, really awesome expedition school, but it's all online now. So, we get up and we swing from the ceiling a little bit. We have rings on strings hanging from our ceiling. So he gets up and we swing around from the ceiling, and we sit in the window and we look outside and watch the sunrise and see, we've had some bear action lately. So we've, look outside and see if there's any bears, see if the bear got in the garage. We let the dog out. Then, we'll have some food and jump on and do some lessons. And lately we've been doing a lot of weather data stuff. So we'll go outside and what's the weather doing? Is it snowing? Is it raining? All that. And so he does his own little weather report. And then, he's pretty much done by 12:30. We read, and he's really, really, really into the guitar. He's growing his hair out so he can look like Jimmy Page. Because of course, if his hair looks like Jimmy Page, he'll be able to play like Jimmy Page. So we're really into Led Zeppelin right now. So then he'll get out his guitars and play for a while. And then, we normally, by now we're outside.
Are you teaching him to play the guitar? Because I did see on one of your Instagram pictures that you play the guitar.
I mean, he's so far beyond me. I can play the blues, and that's, kind of it. But no, he's incredibly musical. He just picked it up and he's off and running. My mom is very, very musical. She's kind of like a piano sort of genius. She started playing at 7. So we always had music around, but piano is too hard for the sheet music was too hard for me to read. So I played drums and I dabble on the guitar. But yeah, Rio just, I always had my guitar around, and he just picked it up and heard one Tom Petty song and was like, here, do, and started playing it. I was like, okay, yeah. So we did a few lessons. COVID shut down at a really cool, nonprofit music school in our area. And the teacher was so sweet. She was like, I'm happy to keep teaching him and, charging you money. But she was like, really, there's nothing. She's like, there's nothing I can teach him. He just, he just needs to play. So yeah, he just plays, he writes songs, he can read music.
Yeah. And Rio is 7 years old. Is that right?
He is 7. Yep.
Wow.
7 in September. 7 years old, Rob.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same age as my son.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He was 7 in September also.
Oh, really? When's his birthday?
The 29th.
Okay. Rio's is the 2nd. That's cool.
Oh
well, happy birthday.
Yes. Okay. He can't read sheet music, by the way.
I can't either, by the way.
Yes. You've been doing a better job, Kelly. My son could tell you about a lot of different video games. He cannot read sheet music.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we don't, obviously, the challenges of parenting during coronavirus, but I mean, challenges of parenting anyway, period. We never had, he doesn't have an iPad. He doesn't, have a phone or computer or any devices. We don't have any video games. Normally we don't even have TV. So,
no screen time.
No screen time. No. I tried for a minute when we were traveling a lot. I got roped into, I had to get a new phone and here's an iPad for free kind of thing. And I was like, well, yeah, maybe this would be good for the airplane. But he just, no matter how I'm like, all right, 20 minutes, he would just lose his mind. So I was like, yep, nope, we're not doing that. That's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Wow.
don't, we don't do it. But, now with school online, it's like, all right, well, here's your bet. We do school and then that's it. The tablet goes away. I hide it.
Yeah.
And then,
Kelly,
we play music, we get outside. Yes.
and since he's so good at music, I think I read too that he speaks or he's been introduced to all these languages. So how many languages is Rio speaking now at 7 years old?
Well, he, that's kind of an impressive lead up. He speaks a little bit of Spanish. He understands a lot of other language. Spanish was actually his first language. But when I went to Cambodia, he stayed with my family in North Carolina, and TBird, you'll love this. Like when I dropped him off, he, was pretty much only speaking Spanish, and he was really starting to talk a lot and be conversational. But when none of my family speaks Spanish at all. So when I picked him up, he was speaking English with a Southern accent. So
I love it.
He went from like speaking only Spanish to saying race car. So, but
Right.
I need to do better, speaking. But it's funny, a lot of our normal vocabulary has always been Spanish. So a lot of words I just realized at 7, I'm like, oh, you don't know what that word is in English, because I always say it in Spanish. And like, I speak to him a lot in Spanish, but, when he was a baby, when we were in Mexico, we had a lot of friends that would visit from different countries. And so we had people from France, we had, really close Italian friends, people from Brazil. And it was my request that they only speak to him, in Portuguese or French or Italian. So he really was able to pick it up so he can understand a lot. But we're working more on our Spanish, and that was the thing for me. I'm like, well, once I can understand Spanish really well, it's easy to pick up the other stuff.
Hey, Rob, talking to Kelly's made me question my parenting skills that I raised with Tyler and Ellie. I'm kind of feeling bad right now.
Yeah.
I think my kids missed out.
No way, you guys.
A lot. I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you mentioned your mom. Okay, so you mentioned your mom, and I'm hoping I get this right. We were wondering what at 22 years old you even applied for Survivor. Did your mom have something to do with that?
Oh yeah, my mom had everything to do with it. So that's a great question. So I had dropped out of school in October of '99 to go row a boat on the Grand Canyon. A friend of mine had got a private permit, which, they are few and far between. And it was my first, year guiding, and it was like really epic, like 21 days on the Grand Canyon. So I was like, yep, doing it. And my mom was not happy. I quit school, I quit my jobs, I gave up my apartment. And so when I came out of the Grand Canyon, I didn't have anywhere to live. So I was sleeping on the couch at my mom's house. And, my mom is like the most motivated person I've ever seen. She is like a hummingbird. And, 3 days home from the Grand Canyon, I'm sleeping, my skin's healing, I'm exhausted. And she's like, what are you doing? Are you going to school? Are you getting a job? Like, do something. And she went on she would go on the CBS News website, and she saw the advertisement for it. She printed it out, and I remember she came home and handed me this little white piece of paper, and it was like a dude, sitting under a palm tree cartoon drawing, and just said, 16 people, 39 days, Borneo, $1 million survive. And she was like, well, you kind of just, you were just in the Grand Canyon with 15 other people. You didn't know that well for 21 days. Like, you should do this. I was like, yeah, I should do that. So yeah, she, her joke is, she's like, you got all the adventure. I'm not doing it. But, she's always been incredibly supportive of me. I don't know, Rob, this might be a little closer, to you. Like, you guys see that cartoon Moana?
Mm-hmm.
And, she's like, I'm getting the boat.
Yeah.
I'm sailing. And, mom runs after her, and you think like, oh, mom's going to like stop her and not let her go. And mom like stands at the door, and you're like, oh, she's not going to let her. And then like mom turns around and starts helping her pack, I'm like, that's my mom. She's like, I'm not going, but I'll help you pack.
Kelly, did you take a lot of convincing to actually go out and do that? Because I always feel like that with you, like the adventure was fine, but I feel like the part of like, okay, you're going to go be on a TV show. Was that something that was interesting to you?
Yeah, well, I didn't believe anybody would watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only reality show that was going on at the time or had gone on was, The Real World. And like, I couldn't tell you anybody, So, for me, it was the adventure. I'd never been, I never had a passport. I'd never traveled, outside the U.S. And, I had been a river guide. I had been a backpacking guide and all these things, but, I always had my tent, my filter and my, granola bars. So I was like, wow, can I do this with nothing? The fact that they were making a TV show was like, that, it may never air. And that was in our contract. It said, hey, we're going to go and do this thing, but all 13 episodes have to air. Otherwise nobody gets anything. So you were doing it and you have to agree to do it, and it may never see the light of day. So that, that was the thing for me. I was like, they're doing a TV show that no one's going to watch.
Yeah.
No one's going to watch this. Nobody will ever see this. I just, want to do the thing. And they said, hey, it could get canceled after one episode. No promises. And you guys know, once you're there, it's like cameras are the last thing on your mind at certain times. You're like, okay, ignore that.
When did you realize, Kelly, this might just be something? Was it while you were filming or when did you realize?
Well, I guess it was, when we were there filming, because we would hear stories of like reporters trying to sneak and swim onto the island. And, originally the plan was after, 3 or 4, I forget the number, small group of people were voted out, they were going to get sent home. And I think they had sent, maybe it was BB or somebody, Sonia and BB or a couple people actually went home. And then we heard, everybody's freaking out. Like, we got to keep them here. So then, that plan changed to, we have to keep everybody here until it's over. And then we all go home, because they did send a few people back to the U.S. and people were freaking out. So I was like, okay, but I still didn't really know like how successful the actual show was. I knew that people were intrigued, like, what are we doing? But that doesn't necessarily translate to like, oh, this is a great show once it airs, and is it going to hold people's attention? That kind of thing. And, for me, I came home, I was in Vegas for about 3 days, and I was like, I got to get out of here. Like crazy, city and lights and people. And, so I was like, I got to go. And my mom, you need to stay home. You need to rest. You need to heal. I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't be here. And I went to the river, and I spent all season on the river, and it was a very small town. Everybody knew me there anyway. And, I was really grateful because all of my coworkers and everybody were, people were like, that's cool. But I was like, hey, I can't tell you guys anything. So don't even, I made the announcement. And they were really cool. They didn't, bug me too much about it. They just let me be. And I told my manager, I was like, you need to put me on an overnight trip every Wednesday night. So every Wednesday night I was camping. I was on the water. I wasn't around a TV, and, all my coworkers that were in town, like they had big parties and people had things, but, I just kind of hid out and I didn't really think too much about it. And then sometime in June, I think it was the end of June, my mom took my sister and I to Oahu, and that freaked me out. Like, people were like, at one point we dressed up, like I wore a disguise and I put my little sister like in my hat and sunglasses to try to divert. Like, I had a dude run up and tackle me at the Polynesian Cultural Center. I mean, he was a sweetheart. He just wanted to hug me and introduce me to his family. But I was like, oh my gosh, like people are running after me. It was so weird because, I mean, you guys know we're not, I mean, I'm not, I don't know if you guys have dabbled in acting before or since, but we're not, we just are who we are. And so people feel comfortable with us and approachable, and they can run up and give you a hug. It's not like you're, J-Lo or somebody where you feel this like barrier of like, oh, there's a famous person, I can't approach them,
Yeah.
So that was a little startling. I was like, okay, I guess this is a thing.
Yeah. I don't think that TBird or I have any idea what it's like, what you all went through with that first season, where it was just such a phenomenon that it was, nobody had ever seen anything like that before. And I'm sure that it was a wilder experience than TBird or I had on many magnitudes.
So, Kelly, was your mom and your family watching it every week? And would your mom call you each Wednesday since you weren't watching it to say, Kelly, you're not going to believe this? I mean, was she keeping you posted?
No, everybody knew to just leave me out of it. The first one, I think I went to my mom's when the first one aired because she wanted to have a thing. And I was like, all right. So I went there and I watched maybe the first, I think I made it through, the opening credits of where you see everybody's profile. And
but you already saw that part.
Exactly.
They already showed it to you.
I was like, I can't watch this. So I left. I went outside and sat by the barbecue or something. And I just didn't, I was like, I was there. I know what happened. And, it was hard. I mean, now, like, you don't know who wins. You have to kind of sit with that for a long time. But, going through that and knowing, how hard I tried and that, it didn't work out the way I thought, obviously, that I wanted it to. So, that was hard. I mean, it's hard to mentally, process that the first time. And I was like, I don't want to relive that again. So yeah, I mean, it's no disregard for, the show or anything. I don't watch TV. Like I'm not a TV watcher. And I don't want to hear myself on the, record and listen to myself, it just sounds weird. So it's not, And other shows I've done and been on, like I've just never, made a big deal about watching them either. So it's just, I'm just not a TV watcher.
So Kelly,
I'll watch someday, I guess.
Yeah. I was going to ask, have you ever watched the series? It sounds like you haven't.
No, I haven't. I mean, like I said, I saw the first few minutes, which I had already seen. And then, at the finale, we're all, you guys know, we're all together in the room and all that. But I was up. I was in the bathroom. I was walking around. I think it was actually Gretchen who, made me sit down for the, final few minutes because I did not want to watch. But that was a really sweet moment because, I sat on the couch in the green room or whatever, and like I had Gretchen on one side, and I think maybe Sonia was on the other side, and they were both like holding my hand, and like Nervous was rubbing my shoulders, and Colleen was there, and Jenna, like everyone really just kind of embraced me, and was just like supporting me and stuff. So that was really cool because that was hard to watch. So I did see that the final few minutes, but other than that, no, I haven't seen anything in between, not yet.
Did your mom, family know that how you had finished? Did you tell them before it started, or were they watching it?
They were watching it. No, we couldn't. We couldn't tell anything. But my mom, I think she knew. Mom, stuff. Stuff about your kids. But we got to make a phone call when we arrived in Borneo, like, hey, we made it safe, like, see you in 40 days or whatever. But on one of the neighboring islands, our last day, 39, there was like a floating university thing. And there was like a piracy attack and some people were beheaded.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So that, that stuff doesn't always make the news in the U.S., but, production, they were like, well, we want to make sure that, our people's family don't think it was them. So they let us, make a phone call home and say, hey, I remember calling my mom, like, hey, I don't know if you heard about this whole beheading thing, but that wasn't us. Like, we're safe. I'll be home in a few days. And, my mom, just when I called her, she said, I said, I'm done. I wasn't beheaded. And she said, are you okay? And I didn't say anything. And she goes, you're not okay, are you? and I didn't say anything. And my mom I've never heard her say a swear word in my life. And she goes, "Oh my God, you won the whole damn thing." And then I just started blubbering. I was like, "Ah!" I didn't say yes or no. I just started crying because I'm like, "Oh, great. Like, rub it in, Mom." Thanks. You know? And then it was funny. She said, because prior to going to Borneo, I had always, wanted to go to Hawaii, and we never went. It's expensive trip, and so my mom had been saving and planning a surprise to take my sister and I to Hawaii for my birthday in June. And so she told me, she's like, "Well, I was gonna wait to tell you till you got home, but we're going to go to Hawaii." And I was like, then I cried more. I was like, "I don't want to go to another island." Like, the last place I wanted to go was an island.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go to Hawaii. But
So,
I came around.
Kelly,
I went to Hawaii by then.
you don't even know then. You don't even know if your edit was accurate or not because you never watched it. Because so many players will complain, won't they, Rob, about the editing? But you don't know, right? You don't know if your edit was you or not.
But I've never heard any. I just figure, somebody would tell me if I was a total jerk. But I don't think I was. I mean, obviously we all have our moments. But I in things before and since, I've been in challenging situations in nature and life and whatever. And I just always feel like, conflict reveals deep character, and that, and I do have something to say about that. Cause I've heard that from people over the years. I'm like, "Oh no, they gave me a bad edit. Like, I'm not really this, I'm not really that." It's like, well, you really are who and what you are. No one can make you something you're not. I mean, yes, editing can, happen, but it's like, you can't, if you're a good person, you're a good person. They can't make you a bad person. And if you're a bad person, guess what? You're a bad person, So, I feel like anybody can be nice and speak shiny when you're, well fed, happy and in your comfort zone. When you're out of your comfort zone, that's who you are. That's who you really are.
Yeah.
That's what I see. So I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, that's, I think, very interesting, because I think that really aligns with sort of like when we talk about what happened in the first season of Survivor, of like the worldview of like a vote for Kelly in the finale versus a vote for Rich, where I think that the Rich worldview is, hey, I'm playing a game. You don't really know me. This is who I am here for these 39 days. Where that your worldview, which sounds consistent, is like no, you got to know me. This is who I am, and you should vote for who you thought was the better person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and TBird, you mentioned, like, was the Greg number thing really real? No, it wasn't, and I knew it wasn't. As soon as he said it, I mean, that was, he didn't really pick a number. He was going to vote for Richard. He knew he was going to vote for Richard. He had planned to vote for Richard, and that is same with like Sean and his alphabet soup thing. He was going to vote for Richard. Like that was their way of not really taking responsibility for it. But, both of them came up to me at the finale, squared me off, and said, like, "Sorry, I didn't vote for you. I couldn't lose to a 22-year-old female. It was easier for them to lose to Richard, to my face, I mean, even Greg's sister came up and like apologized to me because her brother didn't vote for me, So yeah, I think, it made me just, that was a really kind of wow. Wow, that's, that was kind of heavy to take, but it's like, that's not my worldview. My worldview is like, okay, if I didn't win, like, let the best man win, not like, oh, it's easier for me to lose to this person versus that, if I can't win, then I don't want anybody better than me to win either. So, but that's on them. That's not on me.
Kelly, this is so great. I'm so glad that you brought this up, because we do a lot of podcasts especially during when there's no Survivor on, and we had done a podcast recently talking about sort of iconic speeches that people make on the jury. And I'm sure you are well familiar with being on the receiving end of some of these. But it came up about Greg and the question that he asked, and something that I had forgotten about. Actually, I want to play a clip for you that came from when you went back for Survivor Cambodia, and you had a question for the final 3 in that season.
15 years ago,
All right.
I was sitting right there. I lost by 1 vote. My fate was determined by one simple question. Jeremy, Tasha, Spencer, pick a number between 1 and 10.
Right now? 2.
3.
4.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, sorry to do that to you, Kelly, because I know you don't like to watch or hear yourself on any of these shows.
No,
but
that's fine.
I thought that was very interesting because I always thought that you didn't like that Greg did that. But then there was when you came back that you went with your final tribal council question to pick a number. And I just thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, well, the whole you know me by now. You know, it was this whole like make some big epic speech and this and that, and I had no questions. I knew who they were. I knew the game that they had played. So there was no, you know, fight for your life kind of thing, or you know, there was no question that was going to sway my decision. But I thought, you know, I thought it would be good to kind of circle back around to that. And I wanted, you know, I wanted to know what number they would pick, and they just kind of fell right in line 2, 3, 4. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And you were going to vote for Jeremy no matter what. There was no way that anybody would.
I was voting for Jeremy no matter what. I was voting for Jeremy no matter what. So, you know, that's why I was like, well, what? I mean, what do I have to say? What? I have no questions to ask. I have, you know, I have nothing. I have no, you know, I got nothing for you guys.
Kelly, thank you for saying that. And I have to tell you, because you and I, we've not met before. I remember after watching your speech there and your question, I actually tweeted something or somewhere I put something, and you and I had never talked before. You sent something back to me so polite. And that's the one thing about talking to you these last few weeks, trying to get you on to chat with us. You've been so polite. But you said, TBird, it's a reflection back on Borneo. I'm like, oh, of course. But you were so nice the way you said it to me. You didn't have to explain why you asked that question. I mean, you didn't owe me anything. But anyway. And that's who you are. Well, obviously, that's who you are.
No, I mean, I'm happy to, you know, do anything. And, you know, like I said, I mean, I thought people would get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
To be honest. And, you know, I kind of wanted to shake it up a little bit. I kind of wanted to shock people. So I thought, you know, this will be good. And people were surprised. There were some big jaws.
Definitely. And you two have in common that you both were in the running for that second chance season. And obviously, Kelly, you went back, and somehow the travesty of justice happened, and TBird didn't end up going. That you two never got on the phone and said, okay, let's, what, you want to work together?
Nope.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this. And I know that people were talking during second chances. And were you in a pre-alliance with anybody?
I didn't want to talk to anybody. I mean, people were reaching out to me. People were calling. People were trying to set stuff up. And I was like, you know what? I'll see you out there. Let's figure it out when we get out there. I don't want to make any promises. I don't want to make any deals. I don't know who I want to align with or if I want to align with anybody. So, you know, I was just like, thanks for reaching out. But also I was living in Mexico, and my little sister was, you know, doing my whole social media campaign. Like I didn't, you know, have a phone. I didn't have, you know, anything. So, and, you know, I was busy trying to get my head around, leaving my son and how am I going to, take care of him while I'm gone? And is this really the right thing to do? Because there was a lot of, back and forth of that and people, oh, you have a little son, like, is that responsible, for you to leave him for that long and go, run off to, Asia to play Survivor. So I was really just trying to, deal with that. Like, should I do that? Should I not? Am I a good mom? Am I a good parent? Like,
And Kelly, all these people then that were playing with you on Second Chances, you've never seen their season, so you didn't know anything about any of them, did you?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I knew I had met Jeff Varner before at like a charity thing because, he was from Greensboro. But I didn't watch his season. I didn't know, how he played or what he did or, I mean, especially any of the
you shouldn't
new
watch
people.
his newer seasons either.
I love Jeff. But yeah, I didn't watch anybody. I didn't know what they did or how they played or who, I didn't know any of the details. And, that was another thing. I was like, I just want to get out there and just kind of see what happens. I mean, that was, my thing from the beginning was like, okay, just one day at a time, take it one moment at a time and then see. And, that's kind of my philosophy with life and, being a river guide. It's like we say, read and run, you read the situation and you run with it. I'm not making any big plans or promises because, things change every second. You guys know that.
Yeah.
So Kelly, with Borneo the same way, you played with strangers and basically Second Chances you played with strangers and everybody else knew each other. Do you think that was detrimental to your game in Second Chances or did it get you further than you thought it would?
Well, I kind of just had to play dumb anyway, even if I watched every season and knew all the details and everything, like nobody's going to let me get to the end. Come on. and I knew that going in. I was like, no one is really going to let me get to the end. So that was the best game I had. I had to play dumb. Even though I might have known more, than I let on, I really just kind of had to play clueless. I had to not come out of the gate very physically strong. I had to just kind of, keep my mouth shut, keep my head down and sort of, play a little meek. And that, that got me pretty far because everyone's like, oh, she's not a threat. She doesn't know what's going on. and, and I would just kind of go off and do my own thing and just kind of play dumb.
Was it harder? Was the first time playing harder than the second time for you? Or was it?
It's different. I mean, the first time, physically and, survival wise was hard. I mean, Borneo was rough. I mean, Borneo was the real deal. Second time around is like we had so much food, like bananas were rotting and nobody wanted to do anything. Like, should we make a shelter? Should we build a fire? No, we'll get matches in 3 days. No, we don't need to do this. Like, and it was just like, everybody was just in the, jungle whispering to each other, like nobody, let's go ahead and lose this challenge so we can this, that. I'm like, wait a minute, what? We're going to purposely lose a challenge. So, that was hard because I felt like people weren't really trying, and that kind of bummed me out. It's like, I'm standing there with like 2 pieces of bamboo in my hand and everyone's like already making alliances, at the water well. I'm like, should we maybe make a shelter? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that, that was hard. That was kind of, I guess, disappointing in a way where I thought like, let's just be a team first and then kind of worry about that later.
Yeah.
But there wasn't, there was no like team mentality. It was like, as soon as we landed, everybody's out for each other. And, and that was to circle back around. That was the hardest thing for me the first time. I mean, yes, I knew the gist of what was going to happen. All right, every 3 days we're going to vote somebody out. But I just kind of put that in the back of my mind, like, oh, I'll figure that out later. It'll just be so hard that it'll be obvious who to vote out. And it'll, like I said, it'll just kind of come moment by moment. And, that was sort of the hard thing for me was like, oh, this, it's not nice. It's not nice. It's not a nice game. So to, boots on the ground as soon as you land, already have that mentality of like, I'm out to get this person and I'm going to lie to that person. I'm like, wait, whoa, no. That's not my style.
Kelly, can you tell us what it was like to play with Stephen Fishback?
Stephen was funny. And I don't know, if you talk to him or what, but,
yeah, we talk to him a lot.
Okay. Well, he was really funny because he would constantly we'd go out in the water. I remember at one point he was like, I'm in the ocean with Kelly Wiglesworth. And like some of the other players were like that too. And, they were like, well, what was it really like? Like, you guys really had to do stuff. Like you guys walked to every travel council. I'm like, yeah. So, I felt like grandma, like when I was in school, we had to, walk uphill both ways and, all that. So it would be like, sit around by the campfire and like, oh my gosh, did you guys really? I'm like, yeah, we really had to do stuff. And, he would have moments like that. But there were so many funny times where, and he was watching me because, like I said, I was just kind of playing dumb and, it was like, I remember, puzzle challenge or something after he was like, oh, you're really good at that, or you're really good at this. And, we would all sit around and talk and, I would, say stuff and, talk about like Ernest Hemingway or whatever. And he would look at me and he was like, oh, you're really smart, aren't you? And I was like, did you think I was just like a dumb jock? And I think he did. I don't think he realized, my level of intelligence because he was kind of always, surprised and, shooting me these looks. I'm like, oh, you know that? You know this? I'm like, yeah, I do. But one time I did, a scorpion was crawling down a bamboo pole and about to jump on him. And I happened to be right there cutting a coconut and I saw the scorpion and I looked over and I hit the machete and I cut the scorpion in half, like right by his head on the bamboo pole.
You saved his life.
And he looked at
you. Did save
I
his
saved his life, totally.
Oh my God.
But he looked at me, he was like, you just cut a scorpion in half in like midair by my head. I'm like, yeah, dude, I just saved you.
Well, and he voted you out of the game, Kelly.
I know.
He owes you a life debt.
But he totally does. Tell him that for me.
I will.
You know, Rob and Kelly and Rob, that's the thing I think, what don't we hear from the most people that the complaints from season 1 up to season 40, that people want to just see, the fans just want to see the players play without, just like you did in Borneo. Just survival and do the survival part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And it's like, I don't know how you can, bring it back to its essence. And the whole, immunity idols and second chances and redemption and all that. Like, I just, I'm like, take all that away. Take all that away and just go back to the roots and just play. Let people play for real. No second, no second chances. no hidden idols. None of that. Just play. So I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever do that again, but I guess, there's too many, things to swap around. But yeah.
Kelly, had you been contacted, Kelly, before second chances to play again through the years? Before Borneo, right after Borneo?
I did. Yeah, I had been contacted a few times. And it was always a no. And, I was surprised they kept asking. But, second chances was so weird because I I think the last time they had asked me, I was pregnant with my son, and I was, well, obviously I can't play. And then I happened to be visiting my family in North Carolina, and I was having dinner with one of my sisters, and out of the blue, she asked me, she was like, do you think, they've asked you so much and you keep saying no. She says, do you think they'll ever ask you to play again? And I said, you know what? I have this weird feeling that they are, and I have a feeling that it's going to be soon. And the next day, you guys are going to laugh. Everybody's going to laugh at me. I have one of my emails. I still have my very first email address I ever had. It's an AOL account, but that's the only reason why I have it, because so many, that's like how random people from forever ago and CBS can find me because I don't, at the time I didn't have social media. Nobody had my phone number. So I checked my email the next morning, and there was CBS saying, hey, we'd love to talk to you. And I said, that's too weird. That's too weird. It was too serendipitous. And I just, I don't know. I just had this feeling like I got to go back. I got to go back and do this. And, but in my heart, I'm like I play to win. Why leave my son? Why put my body and mind through all this again? And, like I said, I'm like, really, no one's going to let me get to the end. Like, why am I doing this? But I don't know. And maybe I still don't have the answer as to why. I just felt I had to go back, but for whatever reason I did. So there you go.
Kelly, are you familiar with any of the Australian cast? Do you know Keith Famey from the chef from Australia right after Borneo?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I have to tell you this because it's kind of, we talked with him a few months ago, and Keith told us, Rob, do you remember this? That they wanted him for Borneo really badly, but he was out of the country doing a cooking show. Now, Keith at the time was a single dad with a son. Kind of, I think, the same age as Rich. So my question is, how things would have changed in Survivor history if Keith Famey had been out there instead of Richard?
Well, she doesn't know who Keith is.
So, yeah. I know. So, I know.
But I think she would say, yeah, sure, make that swap.
Right? Yeah. Can we go back in time and do that?
She's up for it.
Awesome. I'm totally up for it.
Well, with the first impression of the Borneo cast, did you look at people and think, oh, I can take this one, and I mean, when you saw Rich, did you think, I can't imagine him getting to the end? Did it surprise you that it was the two of y'all at the end?
No, not. I mean, I think as the game went on, it wasn't really about survival and things like that. No, and I tried to keep an open mind about everybody, and I knew right off the bat. I mean, Rich is obviously a very smart person, so I knew that about him right off the bat. But I could tell, like, oh, okay, Sean, he's never left the city, or this person's never done that. Okay, this person, so you can kind of get a read on people. And we did spend, a week or two, I think, pre going on the island. We had to do more medical stuff. We had to do, helicopter safety and that kind of thing. And one day we went to a headhunter village, where they, told us the story about the first headhunters, and we got to kind of see some stuff. And they are like, okay, don't touch anything. Like, these three things won't kill you. Everything else will. So just don't eat anything. Don't touch anything. Don't get water from this plant or whatever. And I remember there's huge, beautiful moth landed on Jervis's shoulder, and he jumped 10 feet in the air, screamed, freaked out. I was like, this dude's scared of bugs.
Yeah.
So that's why when we had our beetle larva contest, I was like, that guy, make that guy eat it. He's terrified of bugs. So, you kind of get a read on people.
Kelly, we haven't got a chance to speak to you since the passing of our mutual friend, Rudy, which he had passed away back in November of 2019. It was actually his birthday this week. So thinking of Rudy this week, do you have any Rudy stories? I know you don't know what was on the show or what wasn't because you didn't see it, but do you have any great Rudy stories that you think of?
Oh, I think of Rudy all the time. Actually, we were just in my family, we were just talking about him the other day. No, at first, I don't know if it translated on TV, but he and I we butted heads hard day one. He was barking orders. We're not making a shelter. We're sleeping in the sand. We're not building fires. We're not doing this and that. And I was like, yeah, no. Sorry, old man. Like, we're not sleeping in the sand. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. No, we don't need to do this. We don't need to waste time and resources. And he was just, grumpy old man. And then when it came time to do stuff, like, he didn't know how to make a fire. He didn't know how to tie a knot. He didn't know how to, like, hunt for food. And, I was like, man, you are a useless Navy SEAL. Like, what kind of military man are you? You don't know how to do anything. And he was like, well, we weren't supposed to be seen. We weren't making shelters and building fire and eating food. We just came in and killed people. I was like, all right, point taken. And he, but obviously over time, Rudy became my favorite human. We would, he would run on the beach. He would do his PT every day. And, I would go and do my run and do my yoga. And he would just kind of give me a nod, like an acknowledgement, and I really appreciated his directness, his honesty, as the game went on. And I just really started to just genuinely love the man. And he really, he didn't give out compliments. He didn't give out, hugs. Like, we would celebrate and they're hugging again. And he would say how he and his wife volunteered at the Red Cross. And he said, man, if y'all would stop hugging so much, we'd have 7 more hours in the day to get work done. And, he, one of the challenges, what was it? Oh, I think it was when we had to tie the knot. We had to make a stretcher, and I made the stretcher and tied all the knots. And he was like, kind of gave me a nod of like, how to tie knots. I was like, yep. And, he appreciated that, being a Navy man, that I knew how to tie knots and, that I knew how to paddle and he, all these things. And so he slowly kind of would give me just a little bit, little compliments, this, that, and the other. And when we did the ropes course challenge, when the military guys came to give us our, orders or whatever, they had so much respect for him that it was so cool, to see that. And then when we did the challenge, Rudy didn't really, I think all of us had to do a little bit at the very end, carrying the flag or something. I don't know. I don't remember if he fully sat that one out, because I feel like maybe we were one more than the other team.
I think you were one less.
We were one less. Okay. Because for some reason I thought Rudy sat the whole thing out. Maybe, but if he did participate in it, it wasn't until at the very end, because it started off with me and Sean doing it. And then, Rich jumped in and Sue jumped in. And then I thought, maybe Rudy was there at the very end to help plant the flag or something. But anyway, I remember after that was over, he just grabbed me by my shoulders and looked at me, and he gave me the biggest hug, and he goes, I'm so proud of you, girl. And that was huge. Rudy hugged me, and Rudy's proud of me. I can die happy now, and since when we would see each other at reunions and when we would do charity things, he was always he was a proud grandpa. I'd see him sitting in the corner of the room and, having a beer with somebody, and he'd point to me and he'd be like, that girl right there, she's the one, she really won. She's the real survivor. And he would just brag, like I said, he would just brag on me like proud grandpa. And it was, I have so much love for him. And so I did a post for him on my Instagram, and I told some stories about him. And then I found the picture because I gave him the Rowdy Rudy's Diner thing that I made.
Yeah.
And he said that Marge had put it up in their kitchen. And she had sent me a picture of it a long time ago of it, by their kitchen window or something. So that was really special for me.
Kelly, how did you have any regrets for Survivor being a part of your life story? Has it been a positive thing for the most part for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been so positive, and like I said earlier, just the fact that like I don't watch it, that's no nothing negative at all. I'm so grateful for that experience and opportunity. It's still a huge part of me and my life, and it's opened a lot of doors and opportunities since. And the cool thing is, I've always said like that's something I've done. It's not, that doesn't define my life forever, but and maybe you guys have experienced this too since, the shutdown in March. It's like people are circling back around and, watching the first one and like, how did you do this, that? And everyone's isolated. And, I'm like, people feel like they're kind of on their own little, survivor at home right now. But, I've been getting so many, people contacting me and, congratulating me and stuff. But, a really cool thing is a lot of, women and men, but a lot of young girls, like even, back then and even now, I get so many positive messages from, 10-year-old girls and 7-year-old girls. And they're like, you're my hero. And, I want to be like you and that type of thing. So to me, that's, everything that, it's like, if I can be a role model or inspire people, especially, young girls to like, that makes me really happy. And so to have that, resurgence of that, that's huge. And one of the cool things that, happened the first time around, I was a Fun Fearless Female of the Year for Cosmopolitan magazine. And, that was such an honor, but it was also hilarious because, I'm not, like that's like a fashion, but that's like models and pretty people. And so I got to do that. And they had this big luncheon, to celebrate. And I brought my mom, to honor. And Helen Gurley Brown, who, founded the magazine, she, since passed, but she, kind of singled me out at the luncheon, and she was like, I like you. She was like, you sit next to me. And she just, told me how much she liked me and she was proud of me and liked what I did. And I was like, this lady's amazing, so for her to acknowledge me when I'm, kind of in awe of her and all that, she had done in her life. And Kate White, who was the editor-in-chief at the time, she had brought her daughter to the luncheon. And when I accepted my award, I kicked it back to my mom. I said, well, I want to thank the Fun Fearless Female in my life, my mom, because, I wouldn't have done any of this without her, pushing me to do it. And the editor-in-chief, Kate White, she, after the luncheon, she pulled me aside and asked me if I would take a picture with her daughter. And I did. And she goes, I want you to be her when you grow up. So that, that was cool. Like, to me, people are like, oh, you didn't win the million. I'm like, so what? That was just money. I mean, I did what I said I was going to do. I was going to be there 39 days. Richard was not there a second longer than I was. And, in my mind, he was there because I let him be there. People, could argue that, but, that I reached my goal. That was my goal. And, I didn't walk away with the money, but, I walked away with a lot more and still do. I still, have things come up, and I've had, and I am, having such an amazing life. And that's been a huge part of, my ability to do that, so I'm very grateful and very thankful. And so those, those moments to me and, the experiences I've had that's way more than money. And that's what I tell Rio. I said, I provide experiences. I don't provide a whole lot of things. We're not big into things except for electric guitars, obviously, but, experiences. And that's what you can always take with you.
Kelly, thank you so much for spending some time with us. This was always great to catch up with you and hear what you're doing. T-Bird, anything else for Kelly?
Oh, God. Can I just ask 2 more questions? Just 2 more.
Kelly, that's up to Kelly.
I have gobs more. Just 2 more. Kelly, can I just ask you 2 more? Okay. So I wanted to know from your perspective how Jeff Probst had evolved from season 1, the very first season, up to Cambodia.
A lot different. A lot different, I feel like he and I, still had our rapport. But, he's a big TV star guy now, but, a lot more questions, tribal council is so much more involved. And, he's obviously much more involved in the show than the first time around. First time around, he was just trying to figure it out, same as we were. He didn't really know. He didn't have a map. He didn't have a script. So he's a bit different now, but, pretty same to me. But, the one thing I will say with Cambodia, he kept, making this big dramatic, 15 years ago, you were almost one. And then finally I was like, dude, Jeff, you're blowing my game. Like, you got to stop. He was kind of like making a big deal about me. I'm like, dude, stop. Come on.
All right, and then this is the other question. I think it'd be a good way to end it. After Second Chances, I read that you were developing a line of pre-made healthy cocktails. Did that come to fruition? And if so, give me that healthy cocktail recipe.
It hasn't yet. I kind of had to put that on the back burner, but I was associate producer on the second season of Undercover Billionaire, and shockingly I was working for my good friend Scott Messick, who was the director on the first season of Survivor. So he is one of the executive producers of this season and brought me on board. So I'm an associate producer on that show, and there's 3 different people that were on the show, and our person was Monique Idlette, and you'll see it's in the early episodes of the show, but she and I have actually been talking about working together to bring that, because it's still a thing, it's still it's still a good idea, it's still we're still going to try to make it happen. But, moving, changing countries, raising my kid, all those things have been taking the front seat. Right now I'm working with the nonprofit Friends of the River, and I'm also working with an organization called High Five. They're a adaptive rec nonprofit foundation, supporting and sponsoring athletes who have had, life-changing and, sort of debilitating injuries due to outdoor sports. So working with them to develop an adaptive rec whitewater rafting program. So hopefully if we get, the COVID clearance, we'll be able to start doing those trips this summer. And that was, something I had done pre-Survivor. I'd been doing a lot of adaptive recreation programs. So really great organization that, I like to support. And we're, hoping to get that program going this summer. And, Rio comes with me. So he's training to be a guide.
Cool. Well, Kelly, again, thank you for spending so much time with us. I know that you have a lot going on, and so I appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for inviting me, and happy to talk to you anytime.
Okay, Kelly, all the best
Hope
to you.
You guys are well.
Yeah, and all the best to
Kelly,
Rio as well.
you. Kelly,
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Hope you and your families are well.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Oh, Kelly.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, ask her about her Instagram.
Kelly, you want Instagram followers? You want to give out your handle?
Oh, sure. Didn't you ask me that last time and I didn't know it?
It sounds about right.
It was something because
Kelly Wiggles. That's what it is. Verified on Instagram.
Am I verified?
Yeah, look at you.
Oh, all right. No, I think I remember you asking me something about what something was, Twitter or Instagram, and like because my sister was doing it for me, like on the down low, and I didn't know what it was. So I was like, I have no idea. Yeah, sure. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Kelly. Take care.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right. Take care.
Bye,
Thanks, TBird.
All right.
Thank you, sweetheart. Bye.
Bye. All right. TBird. There you go. The great Kelly Wigglesworth.
I know. Good. Rob. Oh, my gosh. So I'm like Stephen Fishback. I mean, I am, again, I'm speechless. Do you hear me right now? I'm not even saying anything.
Yes. Okay.
And I can see how Stephen was the same way out there because.
Yeah, but then he voted her off.
Well, we'll have to talk to him about that.
Yes,
because
can you
I was
track down Stephen Fishback for talking with
TBird?
TBird?
I'm going to track, absolutely.
That would be a good one.
Are you serious? Do you want him tracked down?
I mean, sure. I mean, where else do we have to go?
Well, I know, but if you tell me that, you know I'm going to go after him. So unless you don't, if you don't mean it, you better not tell me.
I think it would be fun.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Stephen's just been added to the list. No, but Rob, we all, even age-wise, even though I'm a little bit older than Kelly, I started watching her knowing I wanted to do the show. And actually, my mom is the one that got me into it as well. That's why I thought I remembered that about her. And I mean, they were the pioneers, and to watch how the game has evolved, but what they went through, and she handled it with such class, and to hear now how she's such a role model to little girls and everything she's done with her son, it's really neat. Really neat. So, and I had so many, did you see me? I didn't act all excited and crazy. I had so many things I wanted to ask her. I could have talked to her for a long time, as I'm sure you probably already know that.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad we had the time we had with her.
Yeah. Then if anybody's listening is like, oh, why is Rob trying to wrap up? She said she had to go. I try to be respectful of the guest tells us how much time they have, and then we try to push it as far as we can without them hanging up on us. And that's basically what goes on. Yeah. So
and Rob has to pull me in. Rob has to pull me in because he knows I'll be like, one more. Oh, okay. Well, one more.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I know it.
TBird. This week on the podcast, we've been counting down all of the best Survivor seasons. We talked about the 38th best Survivor season as voted by the fans, Survivor Thailand. And our own David Bloomberg was talking about how the highlight of his entire trip was that he got to meet you at the finale and gave you a hug.
You know what? I actually got a message from him this week that he had remembered that happened because I didn't know that and remembered that happened. And I said, David, you have made my day. Because you know what, Rob? It's so fun how other people can touch your life. I'm talking about, through the years. And I just remember little things that people did or said to me that really meant something to me. So if I hear from somebody else like David that one thing meant a little bit of something, how can that not make your day? And we need more of that. So it was really neat that he told me that. So
yeah, he was thinking of you. Okay. All right, TBird, what's next for you? What else you got going on?
I guess Stephen Fishback's next for me.
I mean, I think it would be fun. I don't know if he's going to be up for it. He just has a new baby also.
Well, wait a minute. I thought you guys were like on speed dial with each other, talking all the time.
Yeah, that's why it would be funny. That's why it would be a funny podcast.
Oh, but you're not going to say anything to him. I'm going to reach out like out of the blue.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have to tell our RHAP listeners that, because I think a lot of times people don't realize you don't have anything to do with it, except that you give me a list of names, or if I bring a name to you, you'll either say yes or you'll say, that's not going to work right now. We've got something. Okay, I won't go into that, but you know what I'm saying.
TBird does all the booking. If anybody, also any parts that people don't like about Rob as a podcast, those are also the parts that I don't do. Those are the two things. booking, or if there's some other part that you don't like, that's one of the other parts that I don't do.
I think Steven would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you've added him to the list. That's fantastic.
It might be
But
good
anyway,
to hear some
Kelly-
stories, yeah.
Well, the first story we're going to have to address is how he was so in awe with Kelly, and then he went right behind her back and voted her out. Do you think that was a strategy?
After she saved his life, yeah.
That I look up to you, and
That's
do you
how
think
he
was
sucked her
playing
in.
up to her?
Yeah.
I think it was. She didn't see it coming. That's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Steven. Yeah, we'll have to address that with him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. TBird Cooper is on Twitter. Anything else you want to let people know? You already know how you're going to market this one?
I already marketed.
Okay. You already got it. All right.
Already marketed. Already got it.
Okay.
But thanks for the help. But thank you for the help, you and Glenn. Thank you for the help on the one with Julie Berry. That
Yes.
didn't help me one bit. I had to go off on my own with that one.
Yeah. T-Bird, you did, even though Glenn said don't do it, that you still, you went out on your own.
Okay, well, that's kind of how it happened. But usually, Rob, just let me tell you this. Whenever we talk about the guests and we line them up, right away I'm trying to think, what can I do? What can I do? Well, that was the first thing that came to my mind with Julie Berry. And then I ran it past Glenn. Of course, he said no. So I actually got my daughter to go with me and do it. And I said, Ellie, Glenn said I can't do this, but let's just do it. And hopefully he'll approve it. And he did approve it. It was approved before I posted it.
Okay, you showed it to him. All right. Well, that's good.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
Okay, so thank you.
Daughter!
Okay. You like that?
What was that?
That's Bryce. I have Bryce on the soundboard.
Do it again.
You like that? Okay.
Daughter!
I love that.
All right.
I love that.
T-Bird,
That's fantastic.
we will be back with more talking with T-Bird, of course. Of course, we're also counting down the Survivor seasons as well over at robhasawebsite.com. Anything else you want to say, T-Bird?
No, just send me those suggestions.
Yeah.
Keep sending them in.
All right. We could not do it without the support of the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast. Get our patron podcast feed and everything else we're doing at robhasawebsite.com/patron. And T-Bird, you are in luck today because I have an updated outro song here from Murph today. You ready for this?
Oh, my gosh. Yes, y'all. This is a surprise. I did not know this.
It just came in.
I did not know this.
Okay. All right. Take it away, Murph. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Rob
Bye.
and T-Bird are here today to talk to those who've played the game. From Borneo to Cagayan, we'll find out what went right or wrong on Survivor. Talking with T-Bird.